Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC on Fox 23, Shevchenko versus Pena, which happens on January 28th on Fox. But before I get into that, I like to plug a couple things. First is my author's website at www.chrismaldon.com. Next thing I like to plug is my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, which you can find on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, or Stitcher. Links to find these will be provided on the description. So, on to this card. I like the card. I think that there's a good amount of action fights, a couple of UFC newcomers, actually a good amount of UFC newcomers. Shelton, Pantoja, Kimball, Jordan Johnson, Bobby Nash. Yeah. And there's just some fun fights on here, too. Cerrone Masvidal looks good. Arlovski and Ngannou. Knight Caceres. Main card looks great. I think something like a Jingliang versus Bobby Nash could be fun. De Silva versus Johnson could be sloppy fun. Like real untechnical but fun. Pantoja versus Shelton actually looks pretty interesting. I think Kimball versus Rogerio de Lima actually isn't too bad as far as some action in there. So overall, like there's actually some pretty fun fights. Kind of hard to predict a lot of them for me, to be perfectly honest with you. So let me just get started. Okay, in the main event, we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Julianna Pena. So, one thing to note about this whole card is that it will be an elevation. So cardio is an issue. These two have not really shown any problems with cardio, so I don't think it'll be an issue in this particular fight, but it could be an issue in other fights. With that said, looking at Julianna Pena, I'll say this right now. I am terrible at picking fights between these two. Okay? I don't actually think I picked the Shevchenko fight correctly so far, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Kaufman fight, the Holm fight, the Nunez fight. Yeah, I have not picked a Valentina Shevchenko fight correctly so far. And Julianna Pena, I've managed to pick her relatively correctly, but not in the last two. Here's my thing with Julianna Pena, and if you watch her fights, like it's one of these cases where I've had to kind of accept the reality of Julianna Pena and her style. If you know me, I'm just not a fan of that like bull rushing style. You just kind of punch your way into the clinch, and your stand up isn't very good. Julianna Pena is very much like that. Like she kind of just bullies her way into the clinch. If she can get you against a cage, she's most likely gonna get a takedown. Her top game is really good. Her ground pound's good. Her ability to pass to either mount or to take the back is really good. And that's in a sense that's my problem with Pena is that like she has that style, and she's getting better at it. She's good at what she does. That's the biggest thing. But it's not dissimilar to say Rousey, I guess. Even though Rousey's a little more willing to strike, Pena still hasn't shown that much willingness to strike. And when she does, she just throws haymakers. But yeah, relentless about the takedowns, real strong, big for the weight class, and heavy on top. Good ground and pound. I mean, that's it. If you think Pena's gonna win, most likely it'll be because Pena is able to take the fight to the ground. Shevchenko. She's at the heart of everything with Shevchenko and her style. It'd be counter-striking. she isn't bad offensively, but she's a much better counter striker. It's shown in the Holly Holm fight, especially. Holly Holm went to her, and Shevchenko was just mainly counter striking and got the win. She doesn't. She has a really strong clinch game, um, but like she doesn't always throw enough and isn't always aggressive enough. She has a very surprisingly good clinch takedown game. Well, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising, but besides just her clinch striking, she's good at taking again takedowns off from the clinch. She's strong there, despite the fact that she's actually considered an undersized bantamweight in the sense that she could probably, and if I'm not mistaken, has fought at 125. Shevchenko should be the better striker. I don't think she's the better grappler, but I wonder if she can defend the takedowns. That's really what it comes down to. Because if that's the case, I think that Shevchenko can win. If you think that Julianna Pena can take her down, she'll probably keep her down. That's the other thing too. Pena's good at that. She's good at the takedown. She's good at keeping her opponent down, and of course, getting dominant positions. Her striking, though, it's wild, and it really is just a tool to get into her desired range. The clinch, maybe go for like some other type of takedown. With that said, I am going to go with Valentina Shevchenko to win this one. I do feel she is the better striker. She has gone 5 rounds. Her grappling isn't bad. It's not like her takedown defense. Well, we haven't really seen her takedown defense tested too much. So that gives me large cause for concern here. We haven't seen her takedown defense tested. And, I don't really know if she can hurt Pena that much. Because despite everything with Pena and how I feel about her, her lacking stand-up pretty much, she has shown to be pretty tough. So this one's tough for me to call, but I am going to go Valentina Shevchenko to win this one. I'll probably go by decision. I feel that she can outstrike her. And I am betting on that she'll be able to defend the takedowns. Maybe. Because Pena has actually not shown to be that great, have that great of takedown defense herself. Maybe Shevchenko takes Pena down. It's, Kat Zingano managed to take her down. I want to even say Jessica I managed to even take her down. Or else do want to clinch. No. But there's, I think Milana Dudieva took her down. Took Pena down as well. So, Pena's takedown defense actually isn't that good. And Valentina Shevchenko actually has a pretty good offensive takedown ability herself. So, it is a possibility for Shevchenko to take Pena down. So, yeah, Shevchenko by decision. Next fight after that, Donald Cerrone fights Jorge Masvidal. Fun fight here. Very interesting too. I feel that Masvidal is going to be the better boxer, whereas Cerrone is going to be the better kicker. I think at close range, Masvidal has some really good elbows, and on the ground, both these guys are very, I want to say underrated on the ground, but Masvidal's takedown defense is really good, and his ability to get back to his feet is really good. His overall just ground game is actually highly underrated. You have to remember he did submit like Chiesa. He does know what to do on the ground. Donald Cerrone definitely knows what to do on the ground. Has a good amount of wins by submission. Good at taking the back. He's good off his back as well. We'll even go for things like omoplatas and triangles and whatnot. But I really see this fight staying standing. And that's where this fight gets interesting because both these guys, notorious slow starters, former lightweights moving up to uh, welterweight and finding some relatively good success. Cerrone a lot more so than Masvidal, but Masvidal has had some really good performances, even in losses. Like that Larkin fight, I thought was quite incredible. Both these guys have good like traps in the stand up. They'll kind of throw something, all of a sudden, like hit some form of like misdirection. Um, but like I said, I think Cerrone is the better kicker. Masvidal is the better puncher. Uh, One other problem with Masvidal is like he will tend to let go of the gas. Defensively, he needs some work. Cerrone defensively, I mean, he was getting hit by Matt Brown, who's a good striker himself, but ended up knocking him out with a head kick. And the thing with Cerrone too is he comes off like a very much more precise striker than Jorge Masvidal, um, especially with the kicks, and he'll aim for the legs, the body, and the head. So this one's tough to call, but I like the variety of strikes that Cerrone throws. When Cerrone's on and got the rhythm going, he'll throw at a very good volume. Jorge Masvidal still has that thing where like he'll kind of coast. He still gets hit quite a bit. It's not that Cerrone doesn't get hit, but it just seems like Masvidal a little more so. Um, Both guys are pretty tough. Masvidal's got a really good chin on him. So I'll go with Donald Cerrone to win this one, but I'll go by decision. I'm not super confident in it being a. Well, I can maybe see a finish though. Is what I'm really saying. So next fight after that, Andrei Arlovski fights Francis Ngannou. So this fight is deceptive. I'll say this right now because it's heavyweight and prospect versus veteran. So that makes things really funky. Honestly, like I think the immediate thought is that Francis Ngannou is going to win, get the cool knockout. Immediate thought. You have to still remember that he's only like 10 fights in 3 years into his MMA career. He has not been doing this for a long time. He is strong and athletic. How is the elevation going to affect Francis? Yeah, excuse me. We don't really know that. I don't really see this fight hitting the ground, so that's good. Um, but Francis Ngannou, yeah, that guy hits hard. He has a deceptively long reach. He has a really good left hand. Um, we still have not seen the guy really in a lot of danger. I've seen him get put on his back, but otherwise, especially as of late, he has been very good at getting back to his feet when he's taken down. Against good wrestlers, too, like Curtis Blades, for example. He's fighting Andrei Arlovski, who is a veteran, a former UFC heavyweight champion. One thing about Arlovski is that he has a very right-handed style of striking. I mean, he almost exclusively strikes with his right hand. He will double pump his crosses. He even went for the crazy back fist against Travis Brown. Um, so, but he is a pretty good. Yeah, he's still a pretty good boxer despite the fact that he is on a losing streak. One of the things that has really killed Andrei Arlovski as of late is his chin. A guy like Francis Ngannou, who hits as hard as he does, can definitely crack that chin. Arlovski, though, still has some level of veteran savvy. If he has made fights boring, clinching, a lot of clinching. Just a lot of staring sometimes. Um, Sometimes you don't really know what Arlovski you're going to get. And he is coming off a losing streak. Well, Ngannou is doing nothing but winning so far. And sometimes pretty devastating fashion too. um, Despite, like I said though, I know Francis Ngannou's the easy pick here. I am gonna go ultimately Francis Ngannou to win this one by knockout, but I'm just gonna repeat it. It's heavyweight. Heavyweight is just weird. It's just one of those weird divisions. Of course, anyone can knock each other out at any time. Arlovski, we still have not seen Ngannou in a bad position. We don't know what he's like in elevation. And it's still prospect versus veteran. Ngannou is still very much a prospect. Arlovski, very much a veteran. Overall, I think Ngannou is going to find his chin. Let's see if he can avoid getting hit with the right hand from Arlovski. Ngannou has that deceptively long reach and is just really athletic too at this point. So Francis Ngannou to win this one by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Alex Caceres fights Jason Knight. Fun fight. Alex Caceres has really improved his boxing. He's been something of an unorthodox guy, but he'll go for some funky kicks and whatnot. But I remember his fight with Cole Miller, and even his fight against Yair Rodriguez, his hands didn't look that bad. The other thing with Caceres is his ground game is actually pretty good. He's good at taking the back. He trains at an MMA lab, and for a while now, he has that cage craft that's really well known with the MMA lab guys, which is just pretty much if you put their back against the cage, they're really good at defending takedowns against the cage and or getting back to their feet using the cage and throwing elbows when they're up close against the cage. It's just one of those things that is an MMA lab specialty, and Caceres is just another one of the guys that seems to have really good ability, deceptively good ability once his back, especially if his back is up against a cage. Jason Knight, it's funny with Jason Knight. He used to be a guy that used to pull guard and stuff like that. And his stand up used to be just ho hum. The thing with Jason Knight though is I don't know what happened with him, but he just got super aggressive. His striking isn't anything super notable, but he throws a lot. He's in his opponent's face a lot. Seemingly has a good chin. Will talk trash, and he does have a good ground game himself. He isn't the hardest hitting guy, but he is very willing. So that should make this fight pretty interesting. I think Caceres has steadily gotten better, but so has Jason Knight. And Jason Knight, like I said, when he puts the pressure on, he throws a lot. So, in a sense too, the judges tend to like that. So with that said, I am gonna go with Jason Knight to win this one. I'll go by decision. It is possible he wears him down. Caceres is relatively tough, I've seen him get dropped, so it's not the outside. I've seen him get subbed too, so it's not outside the realm of possibility for Jason Knight to finish him. But I'll go Jason Knight to win this one by decision. Okay, on to Fox prelims. Sam Alvey fights Nate Marquardt. So, here's the thing with Sam Alvey. Counter striker, and with pretty good takedown defense, and hits hard. He was pretty aggressive against Nicholson in his last fight, which is actually very uncharacteristic. Alvey doesn't really had the best like movement. Like Alessio was able to just kick, move, kick, move. It was a really boring fight, and it really just depends on like what how a fighter approaches Sam Alvey. Nate Marquardt, he's really good everywhere, and he can, it's funny. I want to say he's on a win streak right now. He just knocked out Tamden McCrory. Nate Marquardt's actually a pretty good, uh, is actually a pretty good kickboxer. No, he's always been a good kickboxer, and he hits hard, and he's a good wrestler as well. His submission ability isn't that bad. He has a good guillotine. Um, and he has a lot of veteran savvy. Problem with Nate Marquardt at this point is that his chin has failed him. He does not take a hit like he used to. But he is quite opportunistic, and he finds good openings. So I don't know how aggressive Marquardt is going to be against a guy like Alvey, because Alvey is just looking to counter-strike, and it seems like his opponent seems to know that at this point. But Alvey still wins, despite it. Tough one to call, but it's so hard to trust Nate Marquardt at this point. Like, that's the other problem too. Like, at least I know what I'm getting into with Alvey, but with Marquardt, it's really hard to trust him to win, even though he's actually doing quite well for himself as of late. He's just getting older, a bit slower. But, and Alvey, for all his faults, still hits hard. He's got a pretty good chin on him himself. I don't really know if Marquardt's going to be able to dodge a counter, not get countered, and I don't know if like Marquardt's just like not gonna throw. It's just not. It doesn't seem like it's in him not to do that. I don't know how much he's going to grapple with Alvey as well, too. So, with that said, I am going to go Sam Alvey to win this one. I think he'll find Nate's chin and get the KO or TKO. So after that, Raphael Assuncao fights Aljamain Sterling. Very interesting fight. I like this fight. Well, I don't think I'd like this fight that much. I'd have rather seen Assuncao fight someone that isn't a still in that prospect stage. But Raphael Assuncao, BJJ black belt, stand up has been greatly improving, and his takedown defense is actually pretty good. He's been in there with the likes of TJ Dillashaw twice. He's fought Caraway. He beat Caraway by just defending his takedowns and beating them up on the feet. And Faber, among others. Assuncao is pretty good everywhere. And doesn't have any noticeable weaknesses at this point. Aljamain Sterling, strong wrestler. Really good ground game as well. He's actually pretty good at taking the back. Has some interesting guillotines, and he does his best work on the ground. Standing though, he still needs some work, especially with his boxing. He's still a very kick-heavy striker. That seems to be looking for the takedowns. That's kind of his game. I honestly think he's going to have a hard time with that style against a guy like Assuncao. Because Assuncao is hard to take down as it is. And like I said, the guy that beat Sterling pretty recent, or last, was Brian Caraway. And I just don't really see what Sterling's going to do that much different than what Caraway tried to do. I think Assuncao beats Sterling on the feet. I think he just defends his takedowns. So with that said, I am going to go with Raphael Assuncao to win this one by decision. Next fight after that, Jingliang fights Bobby Nash. So I watched some video of Bobby Nash actually. I liked what I saw. Strong guy. Jingliang is also a really strong guy. too. Nash hits pretty hard. He pressed forward pretty good. I think he fought for this organization like GKO or something like that. And I saw him fight Luis Gonzalez. Uh, Knocked him out, so that was pretty cool. His takedown defense actually didn't look too bad. His overall wrestling game looks pretty good. I was actually quite impressed with what I saw from Bobby Nash. I thought he had some solid striking. Um, his overall takedown defense and overall grappling didn't look too bad either. And he looks like a big, strong guy. He's fighting Jingliang, big, strong guy. He used to just grind guys away, especially in the clinch. Take him down, kind of grind guys away, hit some ground and pound and whatnot. One thing about Jingliang though is, man, this guy's pretty solid. I'm actually pretty, like, as a prospect, I don't think he's some elite level prospect or anything like that, but he's a lot better than I thought he'd ever be. His striking has improved. He seems to have found some power in his strikes. I think he knocked out Anton Zafir with like ground and pound in his last fight, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Improving stand up, pretty good clinch, takedown game and whatnot. Strong guy himself. So I think this fight, pretty experienced too. This is Bobby Nash's first fight in the UFC, so I don't really know what that bodes for him. With that said, though, I'm just a little more impressed with what I saw from Bobby Nash. Striking wise, I think he can match Li Jingling's strength as well. And I can see this being a close fight, but I gotta go with Bobby Nash to win this one. I think he can just get a little better of the striking here. Wrestling didn't look too bad, so I'm gonna go Bobby Nash to win this one by decision. Next fight after that, Luis Enrique da Silva fights Jordan Johnson. So I watched some video of Jordan Johnson. They call him like big swinging. So I saw like I think it's one of his most previous, was it RFA fight? Yeah, I think it was like an RFA fight. I don't think it was a legacy fight. So he swings pretty big, Wrestling didn't look too bad, actually. The fight I saw from him, he won by rear naked choke. He has some power in his strikes. Big, strong guy as well. If I'm not mistaken, fight at heavyweight too. I'm pretty sure this one is at light heavyweight. And didn't look too bad. Kind of a sloppy striker. He didn't always come across the most technical guy at times. He seems to, sometimes he seemed like a strength over technique type guy. But the thing is, he's fighting Luis Enrique da Silva, who just lost his last fight against Paul Craig. And Enrique da Silva looked absolutely terrible in his last fight, by the way. Usually, he's a guy that goes he can go 3 rounds, and he's always in his opponent's face. Super untechnical, but tough as nails. And he's always putting the pressure on his opponent. But like I said, he didn't look that good against his last opponent. The thing with Enrique da Silva is that Frank Wason is his nickname. He hits hard, and he can take a shot. That's the thing with him. But technique has never been his strong suit. He makes fights real ugly. He makes his opponent work, and work pretty hard. Both these guys aren't the most technical skill-wise, but I gotta go with the experience of Enrique da Silva and just the overall toughness to win this one. Probably, I'll go by decision. Man, the problem with Enrique da Silva though is it's like the Paul Craig fight. It's like, okay, you're not a technical fighter. You're just, or the thing with Luis Enrique is he's just super tough. I mean, he's seemingly winning fights so far in the UFC by being the tougher guy. I think that's going to be the case here. But like I said, he looked pretty terrible in his last fight. I'll go with Luis Enrique de Silva to win by decision. Next fight is that Alessio de Chirico fights Eric Spicely. So here's the thing with Eric Spicely. Takedown, take the back, get the choke. That's it. That's what he does. He does it very well. And he even got that big upset win over Thiago Marta Santos in his last fight. More or less just doing that. um, Usually the way Eric Spicely gets his opponent down is with a single leg takedown. So, to even pinpoint it even more, strike to the single leg, takedown, take the back, got the choke. If you think Eric Spicely can do that, cool. You know, that's what he does. Because he does not have, he seemingly does not have much else to his game per se. Striking isn't that great. His variety of takedowns is just, he just seems to be like likes a single a lot. Not to say as he doesn't have other takedowns. He's good positionally if he's on top, and his strength is the ground. That's the thing with Spicely. He's fighting Alessio de Chirico. He most recently got his first UFC win against Gareth McLellan by split decision. I like Alessio de Chirico. I think he's. I think the problem with him though is that he's kind of good everywhere, but not, has some level of athleticism. Not particularly great at any one aspect of MMA. If you think he can defend the takedowns from Spicely and beat him up on the feet, then he probably wins. If you don't, if he cannot defend the takedowns, he'll most likely get his back taken and get choked out. That's really how I see this fight going. I don't really see it going any other way. But Alessio de Chirico not being a specialist anywhere, I think might hurt him. Especially at the very least, he's kind of a specialist at what he does. It's not like de Chirico has like great takedown defense or anything like that. His cardio looked a bit questionable in his last fight. I mean, look, Gareth McLellan, he's okay. But he's definitely on the very lower end of the middleweight division. And de Chirico had a pretty hard time with him. So, with that said, I'm going to go Eric Spicely to win this one. I think he'll just strike when he needs to, get that takedown, get dominant position, and get the sub. So, Eric Spicely by submission. Next fight after that, JC Cottrell fights Jason Gonzalez. So JC Cottrell, lost to Caceres in the last fight. I remember seeing him on the regional scene. His striking's alright. His wrestling's pretty good, and his ground game's actually pretty good. But otherwise, I think he's probably strongest on the ground. But otherwise, he's not someone that particularly wowed me or anything like that. Jason Gonzalez got knocked out by, got the dude's name now. Got knocked out in his last fight by, forgot the guy's name. But Gonzalez, pretty good striker. He has some power in his, he has some power in his strikes. His ground game's not too bad. It's not tough for me to call though, because they're both just like lower level guys who lost their last fights, and didn't really leave much of an impression. I think Jason Gonzalez is the better striker. I think he can hang on the ground, so I'm gonna go Jason Gonzalez to win this one. Heck, I'll go by KO or TKO. On to Fight Pass prelims, we have Marcos Rogerio de Lima fighting Jeremy Kimball. So I've seen some Jeremy Kimball fights. I remember he actually beat didn't he beat Chidi Njokumani? He used to fight in Bellator. He was the thing with Kimball is that one, I don't know if light heavyweight is his weight class. First of all, I think he usually fights at middleweight. Um, the other thing is he's real tough, but I remember he's not a particularly great athlete. Um, but like his striking's all right. His wrestling and grappling is pretty rugged, but he is good and capable there. He's fighting Marcos Rogero de Lima, who has some pretty good Muay Thai. He hits really hard. That's the thing. His ground game, I think he's supposed to be a BJJ black belt. He hardly takes a fight to the ground. Um, so, standing is where Rogerio de Lima tends to shine. With that said, I am going to go with Rogerio de Lima to win this one, probably by KO or TKO. Kimball's taking this fight on short notice. And an elevation, first fight in the UFC. Those are some factors that, like, I can't seem to ignore. I don't really trust Rogerio de Lima's cardio, though, so I probably trust Kimball, even taking the fight on short notice, to have better cardio than Rogerio de Lima. Nonetheless, Marcos Rogerio de Lima by KO or TKO. And finally, Alexandre Pantoja fights Eric Shelton. This fight is actually kind of tough for me to call because I have seen some Pantoja's fights. I actually remember watching him beat Damaso Pais. He has beaten the better level of competition. Didn't he fight Manzanares as well, if I'm not mistaken. Pantoja's striking's pretty good. On the show, he's a very willing striker. Trains out of like Nova União, if I'm not mistaken, and Black House. And his ground game is really good. I really liked what I saw from Eric Shelton, though, on the show. I thought that this kid is a really good prospect, real good athlete. That was the first thing I noticed about Eric Shelton. I was like, this guy's athleticism is really good. He's good at scrambling out of bad positions. He's a good wrestler himself. And I thought his striking was actually pretty solid. If Shelton wins this one, I think he outslicks Pantoja in the sense that, like, he'll catch him and he'll get out more, just be the slicker fighter, whereas Pantoja will be the more like the pressuring fighter. The more experience, well, they actually aren't that far apart as far as like how many fights they've had, but just level of competition. Pantoja has a much better level of competition. Um, but I'm really impressed with Eric Shelton, though. Like I said, his athleticism. I think he's a better athlete than Pantoja. If the fight does hit the ground, I don't know if Pantoja can keep it on the ground. And Shelton is just really slick on the ground, and his stand-up is actually pretty good, too. So I am going to go Eric Shelton to win this one. Maybe even mix his own wrestling. It is flyweight. Everyone's a good scrambler. Um, so, like I said, I can't really see any of these guys, if they get takedowns, being able to keep their opponent down. But I think Shelton just might be the faster guy here. So I'm going to go with Eric Shelton to win this one by decision. Okay, to recap, I have Valentina Shevchenko winning over Julianna Pena by decision. Donald Cerrone over Jorge Masvidal by decision. Francis Ngannou beating Andrei Arlovski by KO or TKO. And Jason Knight over Alex Caceres. I think it was by decision. Possible finish, though. Okay, on the Fox prelims, I have Sam Alvey over Nate Marquardt by KO or TKO. Raphael Assuncao over Aljamain Sterling by decision. Bobby Nash beating Jingliang by, I think I said decision. Luis Henrique Silva over Jordan Johnson by, I think it was decision. And Eric Spicely beating Alessio de Chirico by submission. I had Jason Gonzalez over JC Cottrell by, say, KO or TKO, possible decision. That one was really hard for me to call, though. On the Fight Pass prelims, Marcos Rogerio de Lima over Jeremy Kimball by KO or TKO, and Eric Shelton over Alexandre Pantoja by decision. So that's pretty much it for my predictions for UFC on Fox 23, Shevchenko versus Pena. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And please check out my author's website at www.chrismondolin.com and my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So, that's pretty much it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.